I want to point out today that the Tripp family is more like the Von Trapp family with the number of them in our studio. Maybe they're going to sing for us too.
That's right. You ready? Ready?
we have we have Dr. Jonathan Tripp and family joining us today because they just returned from a mission to Nicaragua. Now, Managua is a very beautiful modern city, but that is pretty much about all you have in that part of the world. Otherwise, once you get outside of town and you start getting back into the jungle areas and the like, it's an entirely different culture, and it is a very poor culture as well. Thank you for joining us this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Bill Colley with you as well, and we have 61 right now, coming up on 8:34. First of all, I guess the first thing to say is welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, we made it back without any serious threats. We were a little worried about that when we were planning to go, what kind of potential threats we'd be under, but it was a beautiful experience. We really enjoyed the people that we met and interacted with, and we learned a lot from them. So
No,
I'm going to let the family tell their parts.
and of course you're dealing too with the change in weather. I mean, it's hot there too, but it's humid, and you've got mosquitoes, and so there's a lot of precautions you make when you go to a
Let's
country
let the
like that.
one who suffered heat stroke tell us about that.
Okay, which one of you? Give me your names as we move around too, as well.
I'm guilty.
Mrs. Tripp.
So day one, it was 102, and then with the humidity, they said it was about 122. That's what it felt like, and we were mixing and pouring concrete. So by hand
In the sun.
in the sun. So it was a lot of work, and I mean it was amazing to see the 30 plus people that we had in our group struggle to do that. We had to rotate like every 3 minutes. We'd rotate or 5 minutes, and we'd be shoveling or transferring 5 gallon buckets to bring the sand or the rock over or the concrete over, and then the water. I mean, it was a really long, hard process. I mean, it really made me appreciate machinery, which they did not have. I mean, and here we are mixing for a basketball court that had been ruined, for an orphanage. It had been ruined for quite some time, and when Angela showed up, they said, "What are the needs of the community?" And this orphanage spoke up. And so they answered the call. So it's not like they come in and just say, "Oh, we're going to do this." They go in and talk with the community and say, "What do you need? What would you like to see happen?" And so it was neat to know that we're filling the needs of the community instead of just going on our agenda.
I'll throw this out to any one of you or all of you. When you go somewhere like this and you see how people live, what's your first reaction in a situation like this? I'll find a volunteer.
At least for me, like I was able to not only help out with everything because we're all just in a group, but when we went to the city dump where people live there, there's a little boy in particular that I got to get to know and connect with, and just being able to see what he went through and just how grateful he was. He wasn't one of the normal kids that lived there that as soon as they saw that people were handing out candy and stuff, he wouldn't really go and just like say gimme gimme in Spanish, of course, but he would ask nicely. He would say please, and I ended up giving him my soccer ball that I brought to play with the kids because I knew that he loved soccer and he helped me out with trying to talk in Spanish to the kids and connect with them. So it's just something that hit me and saying, okay, you need to work harder back at home, be a little bit more grateful for the things and not take for granted what you give. And
They don't, well, sometimes something like a soccer ball too. I mean, they don't have these
there's
things.
no soccer ball. They literally go to the dump where all of the garbage is at, and they look for things in there that they could still use or reuse. And it's really really a sight to behold because here we don't see garbage. It's buried underneath grass and dirt and stuff where it's everywhere. They burn it. They don't go hide it somewhere underneath. They take care of their environment. They try and keep it as clean as possible, but it's that's just all they have.
Can we get all of your names, by the way, too, as well, while you're here?
Yeah, I'm Marnie, by the way. So
I'm Christian.
And we got a long line here.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Maddie.
so so all of you were pitching in at one point or another, right? I mean, this was
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
it's
single moment, all of us would be doing something, whether it's communicating with the locals or helping out with the concrete to playing with the kids. So,
Yeah, our children let us know that they really can work hard. So now they're in trouble at home.
amen. No, you asked about the environment, and the first thing that I would say is it was wow, because it was so different from our environment. I mean, the we stayed in a resort, Monty Surf Camp, and we stayed in bamboo huts. There were just thin bamboo, and they had
Shutters
um,
for windows.
shutter. Well, there weren't even shutters on them, and then there were palm leaves for the roofs.
We're going to take a short
So
break. We've got the Tripp family with us in studio today, talking about their mission trip to Nicaragua, and we'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. And maybe they can tell us how other families and perhaps other people themselves could get involved with something like this. That's on the way in just a few minutes on News Radio 1310 KLIX, newsradio1310.com. It's 20 minutes from 9 o'clock. Our studio guests have just returned, well, about a week and a half ago, from a mission trip in Nicaragua. Dr. Jonathan Tripp and his family taking some time and really time out of a busy schedule with us this morning to give us a bit of an idea of what it's like to be in that part of the world. And we were just having a conversation about off air about uh, the fact that they were close to the ocean. They had a lot of crabs that lived in the area, and they're relatively small. They're not like a blue crab you'd find in the Chesapeake Bay, and sometimes can be nasty. And I guess you all had different experiences with these animals too, right? As well.
yeah.
Yeah. And you actually saw a crab going at it with a cockroach. Was that it?
Yeah, that's among a couple other things, but we would watch the crabs, and they would just some of them would go at each other, and some would go after the cockroaches that were there, and it was really interesting to watch. The showers that we had there, they weren't completely closed off. There was just a little bit of space in between the wall and the ceiling. And so once when I was taking a shower, I was just washing my hair and I was almost done and stuff. And this cockroach crawls in and stuff. And I'm like, oh, lovely. And then a bat flies in after it and like eats half of it. And I was so gone. Oh my goodness. It was a very new experience for me.
When you're bathing or showering in a country like that, is there hot water or is it
No,
just
No, it was cold water. It's not like we really wanted a hot shower,
Yeah, you
but
enjoy the cold.
it
yeah?
was, yeah, we just had cold water. So.
So it's basically just in a tank and there's no way to heat it.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
the sun heats it,
Yeah,
and so if you take a shower
in the evening.
in the evening and you're one of the first ones, it's kind of hot water, which you don't want. You want to be
Like
cold.
lukewarm.
So you want to wait till we figured out we wanted to wait to be one of the last ones because then the water had gone through and then it was cold because it was in the earth and it was freshly pumped.
How difficult is it to organize a trip like this? I mean, to do a mission. I know a lot of people. I had while you were away, I had a friend from high school. Simultaneously, he was in Uganda doing much the same thing,
Oh wow.
and but I could tell from the pictures he was posting at Facebook, it wasn't an easy couple of weeks. And he was so happy when he got home to North Carolina. Basically kissed the tarmac when he got off the plane.
That's our
But
experience.
I'm sure that you get mixed feelings because it's an emotional type of experience as well. You learn a lot and all of that. Um, but once you do it, do you feel a need to do it again?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it was just really cool to have the impact on people.
What about on you? What kind of impact did it have on you?
I don't know. Well, there's always the coming back side, where right as we set foot in the Houston terminal, we all started naming off things of what we could do, like, hey guys, we can drink the tap water here, or hey guys, we don't have to worry about bats and stuff flying in our bedrooms here. But what really affected me was like, I guess one of the really things that really affected me was when we were at the city dump of Chinandega,
Mhm.
and it was there was a section of the dump they had cleared down. They had built houses and stuff, and right by that section there was a school. And we went and we interacted with the kids. A guy named Lance let people paint his face. He looked like a clown afterward. But it was really cool to play with them and stuff. And some people tossed kids in the air, some people swung them around, some people played tag, and so many kids wanted to play. But I guess what really affected me was when we brought out candy or brought out supplies or something that was like limited. Kids almost went into like a self-preservation mode, like I need that, I need that, I need that, and it was quite startling actually. Like me in particular, um, I was kind of pinned up against a tree with my back to a tree, and all around me were these little kids, wanting and like begging for candy from a bag that I had, and it just kind of startled me that how quick that can change, because these kids they're living with basically nothing, and anything they can get they try and get for themselves so they can have something, and it was just kind of startling of how quick the attitude changed.
When Jeremy Daly was here the other day, he was telling me about his experience in the Philippines. He said because people there often don't know that they lack certain
Exactly. Yeah.
amenities, that in the beginning they're quite content with what they have, but when they start seeing a lot of the outside things people may bring in, there's a they have a culture shock, I guess, when they encounter this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the stuff that we brought down with us as part of Jacob's Eagle Project, and a lot of supplies were donated here locally for us to take down, and we really appreciate those. That went a long way. In fact, we had so much that we couldn't take it because we had limited luggage that they'd let us take, but we took almost everything given, and included things like cloth diapers, things that we're going to be concerned about not having a whole bunch of, you know, uh, throwaway diapers in an area where they don't really have a trash collection system. And it was amazing. And I'm going to let my wife tell a little bit of their experience about handing out the diapers and the bottles and the baby supplies to new moms.
Well, that would be almost like handing out the candy, but I guess probably they were a little calmer in that situation.
Well, we had a day where I was recovering from heat stroke. Thank you, Jonathan. So it was day two, and we decided we'd go walk around and deliver the baby kits that we assembled, and it was it was really amazing to walk through town and um, being led by one of our the people in charge, and we walking through, and she didn't speak any Spanish, so we got to use our broken Spanish, very broken Spanish, to get through. But it was neat to see the reception. The people were so kind. We ended up walking down the street to a restaurant, and this little lady who helped us a lot to get us connected with Sarah, who eventually led us to all these women. She ran up to us and was hugging and kissing us as if we were family, and she was just amazing. And so, and she'd stop and look at me while I'm trying to speak to her, and then she'd go and kiss people and hug people, and so, but she led us to people, and it was just very eye-opening to see the gratitude. Like you said, they didn't know what they were missing, but some of them took a lot of pride in what they had. So their small homes on the earth, the dirt floor, their dirt floor was swept, so it was clean, and their things were tidy and organized, and then you see the state of their kids or whatever, and some of them aren't so well off, and so to be able to hand off those things were just it was very humbling.
A lot
Um,
of people talk about. I think I've mentioned to you, Doctor, that my niece has done a number of these type of missions, and organized through her church, and she's done them mainly though in the United States and Appalachia and various places. But for a lot of people out there, they hear about this, and I'm sure they're thinking, I don't know that I could go through all of the deprivations or see the misery and the like. What would you tell them, though? I mean, in order to maybe change their minds?
well, there is a lot of guilt um, because it's so extreme. I mean, we have so much here in America, and
Many
ah,
opportunities.
so it's and so many opportunities, and to see that they don't have them, or and you're right, they're not even aware of them, but um, I think processing and helping our kids process, I mean, because we wanted them to see, and I think processing, um, it's fun to talk to them about what's coming up, school starting, and it's fun to see their perspective change, and how now they want to kind of carpe diem, seize the day, seize the moment, and do the best they can because they know that there's a lot of people in the world who don't have that. I mean, and the other side is we saw we could make a difference. I mean, we can go there and join forces with other people. I mean, there were other groups there, not just the Color My World group staying at the Monty's surf camp. But we were all able to work on things, and together we were able to make a huge difference. I mean, we were able to get that basketball court laid for these kids in this orphanage that it's been broken forever. They've had nowhere to play, and be able to be building homes for people who've lost their homes because of the surf. It's just it was amazing to know that we can make a difference, and so that's helped us process that guilt.
I would
I think
imagine that the orphanages there are somewhat crowded because mortality among parents, and a lot of times parents maybe just can't care for the children because of the poverty. So
Mhm.
you're dealing with a large population of children who don't have really many adult role models in any way.
absolutely there were a lot of kids. It was fun working. I had the pleasure of smoothing the concrete and forming it and making the forms with Jonathan and Hayes.
Josue.
Josue, Josue didn't want me to help because I was a woman, and it was interesting for him the last day to say, I never knew a woman could do this until today. I've never worked with a woman, and we got along, and he was very willing to help me with my Spanish and talk and communicate. But back to the kids, um, I was off in another way where there's an edge of a building, and it was fun to look up out of the corner of my eye and I'd see three or four little heads poked around watching what's going on, and that excitement that we were fixing something for them. So it was really cool.
And they got a chance, I'm sure, to play some basketball before you left. Had the concrete cured?
Not
It's
yet.
not it wasn't done because so there our group, it was finishing it as a basketball court. So they were going to lay down another surface, and then they were going to paint it, and so get it set up so it's a real basketball court instead of just a slab of concrete that's kind of rough because they don't have any machinery to make it nice and smooth or rake it out.
All done
And
by hand.
it's
Glossy.
all done by hand.
You referenced the school and seeing some of the kids at the school and the like. I would imagine that you don't have a lot of, because we think sometimes about discipline problems we see in our schools in this country. I've been told that if you go elsewhere around the world, that the children are really grateful to be in school, and that, did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little town that we were hosted at had a school that for us was about half a mile walk away, and it serviced two little towns where the kids frequently were walking 2 or 3 miles, and it's a real problem because worried about safety of little kids, even though it's a small town, and pretty much everybody knows everybody. There's still some danger there, and so those the school that was there is supported also by these groups, and so there really is a feeling of gratitude that they have a school that they can go, and so the kids that go are there and want to be there, so they're not forced to be there.
You talk about differences in culture, and I heard a comment from Dave Ramsey on his show last night where he was reading off nasty tweets he gets during the course of his show, and somebody was criticizing him about the poverty in this country, and he paused and he said, and by the way, she sent that to me from her iPhone. That's
Yeah,
the
it's all
perspective of
relative.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we tend to, I think, sometimes forget in all of this. We got about a minute to go. Any lasting impressions that we didn't touch on that you might want to mention?
Well, while we were at Chinandega, there was a dump like my brother was talking about, and there was a town that lived in the dump. And while we were there, I was able to go with a small group, and we walked around the dump, and I was able to actually see people like with their horse and cart in the dump picking through the stuff that they could maybe reuse or maybe that they could uh, fix up and sell to try and make a living off of the stuff that they found there. And thought that was kind of like what you're saying is there's a ginormous poverty difference, and also when we were there, the while we were walking around, we were able to visit the cemetery, and it was really cool to see the differences in graves in the U.S. and there, because there it's really colorful graves and just like I guess more happy than it is in the U.S.
Want to thank you all, and I'm glad you're all back too. I mean, I'm sure that Twin Falls looks a lot nicer after you've
Oh,
been out of the country like that in this situation. And as we said, it makes you appreciate things.
I wish we had a little more palm trees.
That would
Yeah.
be nice. And actually, we could find out how the crabs would taste if we could
That's right.
catch a few of them too.
Yeah.
Coming from the Philadelphia area, the doctor obviously has partaken of some of those Maryland blues in the past.
Yep.
We want to say we got one more hour of top story coming up in just a moment. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. News is next at 9 o'clock from Fox.